Hey,
Good
fifth
morning.
grade. How are
Good
you
morning.
today? We are so glad you're back for week 3. We hope you've been enjoying your lessons so far and getting all your work done and turned in on time. Right, Miss Landers?
Yes, on time.
All right, here we go. We're going to start our lesson today. We're going to review genre. You guys are experts at genre, so we're going to go through this quickly, and then we'll let you work on it at home. So,
Yes.
from the Google site, the 5th grade Google site, you will go to Reading, Week 3, and you will click on Genre. All right. On this page, we have put a video for you to watch with your parents. And so it kind of explains to them the difference between fiction and nonfiction, or if you have any questions, you can take some notes on your notebook paper for today. Remember, every day you'll need a piece of notebook paper. We are going to go through these little poster cards with you just to make sure that you understand, and then we'll play a little game, and then you'll be done. So we're going to just talk about each genre quickly. So we found this this PPT, and we're going to share it with you. So poetry is the first one that we're going to talk about. We talked about poetry, and what poetry is, it's a verse that is written to create a response of thought and feeling from the reader. It often uses rhythm and rhyme. It's also not written in paragraph form, it's written in a stanza. Do you have anything to add to poetry, Mrs. Landers?
No, just that poetry is very fun. If you haven't read very much poetry, Silverstein is a very good author. Look him up if you want to. I read a few of those to you all in class, but poetry is just fun.
Okay,
and
good.
usually just short little poems are really fun.
Right. And poetry is usually written, the author's purpose is for entertainment.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
good to know since we've already talked about author's purpose. All right, so the next one is informational. Informational texts provide factual information to readers, such as stuff about sports or about history, about different animals, like when we read about polar bears and we read about sharks in some of our other lessons. That's all factual information that you can learn. A lot of times it has a caption, or it will have pictures, charts, graphs, diagrams. All the information should be factual and true, something that you would learn from. Like if you did a research paper, like when we studied African American history, we
Right.
read a lot of facts about different African Americans throughout history.
Or
So
animals, countries, things like that. Those are
yes,
information.
informational. Okay, so why don't you tell us about fantasy?
Okay, fantasy is fictional stories that have some elements that are not true or cannot happen in this world. Talking animals, magic dragons, fairies, etc. Like Harry Potter. Harry Potter is fantasy. I'm trying to think of a dragon. Can't think of the dragon book. There is some dragon books that have that. It can also be like I'm drawing
Like
a blank.
Cinderella, Tangled,
Right. Things like
this
that.
kind
All
of
of a
thing.
sudden, I'm like, I get on here and I just get kind of nervous, boys and girls, because this is not my way to teach. So,
No, that's
sorry.
okay. So anything that has talking animals or magic dragons, fairies, the
Like
seven
J.R.R.
Snow White.
Tolkien, The Hobbit, things like
Yes.
yes. Okay.
Okay, fantasy. Good. So a biography. Now, there's a difference between a biography and an autobiography, and you may want to jot this down. You should know because we've talked about it, but let's review one more time. A biography is a story that is written about a person's life, but by someone else. So like if I wrote a story about Mrs. Lander's life, that would be a biography. But if I wrote a story about my own life, that's an
Okay.
autobiography.
Right.
So biographies fall under nonfiction, and so autobiographies and biographies both fall under the nonfiction category because they are true stories about someone's life.
And in the library, they will be under like the instead of having like F for fiction, I'll have B for biography on it. Also in the library, and this, boys and girls, happens to be one of my favorite genres to read is biography. So.
Good. All right. And realistic fiction. Why don't you tell us about realistic fiction?
Stories that can be true to life, but are mostly from the author's imagination. There are tons of these. We've talked about this. A lot of you really like realistic fiction. When I ask you in class, this is what most of you like to read is things that could really happen, but maybe they have some made up characters or a made up place in them.
Good. And the book Restart that we read in class about the kid who got bullied, the 3 boys that were bullies, and he fell off the roof and got amnesia, that was realistic fiction.
Right.
So it was a story that could really happen, but it's not necessarily true. Good. And we just talked about autobiography. It's like if I were to write a story about my own life, or think about President Trump, like he could write a story about his own life with factual information, and it would be an autobiography.
Anne Frank, if you read
Anne
that.
Frank, yes, Diary of Anne Frank. Good. Now, traditional literature. Go ahead.
Stories, folk tales, fairy tales, myths, fables, legends, and tall tales that are passed down from one generation to another in different cultures. And we even wrote kind of like a tall tale in class, or a folk tale. You know, fairy tales like Snow White, fables like The Tortoise and the Hare, myths. We even talked about Greek myths with the Greek gods and things. So those are all, they all fall under traditional literature.
Good. And a mystery. Everybody loves a good mystery, whether it be a book or a TV show. I love to watch mysteries. We watched a movie last night that was a mystery. It was very good. And then I couldn't sleep because it was kind of scary. Okay, so a mystery is a suspenseful story about puzzling events that is not solved until the end of the story. So it'll have words like clues or suspense, things that keep you guessing, like who did it, or
Right.
what happened next. So that would be a mystery. All right.
Like Nancy Drew, that's a mystery. That's
Yes.
old, but those are good books. Historical fiction is the next one, and this is another one that I really like because
Me
you learn a
too.
little bit about a history during these. A fictional story that takes place in a particular time period in the past. The setting is generally real, but the characters can be make-believe. The Watsons Go to Birmingham is an example of historical fiction, or all of the books that that are about the Titanic. I can't think of the name.
Or the Holocaust too.
Yes, the Holocaust has really good ones. Those
Boy
are
in the
all.
striped pajamas.
Yes, that's a good one. There's a lot of those, but the ones that have, like, and I can't think of the name, but they have all different kinds of historical fiction, and you all really like them. One of them
Is
was
it Magic Treehouse?
but that one's good too. About I'll think of it and it'll come to me, but you know I am old, so I've forgotten.
Well, we read Magic Treehouse in my 2nd grade class, and so we read all of those, and every single book was about something else that happened in history. It obviously wasn't true because they got in a treehouse and were sent back in time, but it had a lot of factual, historical facts within the book. So that's why it's called historical fiction.
I survived.
Oh, I survived. Yes, that's very popular right now too. Good. All right, science fiction is any type of fantasy that uses science and technology. It often sets the setting is in the future. Many stories include time machines, robots, and aliens. So I'm not crazy about science fiction.
Me either.
I like historic fiction better,
Would a
but
Wrinkle in Time?
I think that does fall under science fiction. Yeah.
I think so too.
What about the Hunger Games?
Oh yeah, and I did love the Hunger Games. That was
I did too.
Those were good books.
And the Maze Runner too.
Yes, I like that too. So I guess some of them I do, but I don't generally pick genre. I mean that genre.
Me either.
Fiction.
Okay, so I think what the important thing for you to note is the important thing for you to know is you have fiction over here and nonfiction over here, and that's like your 2 big umbrellas. And under your 2 big umbrellas come different things. So under your nonfiction, which we talked about, nonfiction means not fake. So it would be your autobiographies, your biographies, and your informational text. So those are the 3 genres that fall under nonfiction. So you want to write that down. And then all the things that fall under fiction would be like historic fiction, realistic fiction, science fiction, poetry, all the other things that are not necessarily true. Okay, so if you have any questions about genre, I'd love to talk to you about it. You can email us and we'll be glad to get back with you. Okay.
Yes, I love talking about genre.
And this will, just looking at this is a good, just a good
Review.
visual. Yeah, yeah. So you can see all the nonfictions and all the ones that fall under fiction. So if you
And
watch
I
that,
bet Mrs.
idea.
Smith told you all about genres in the library for sure. You know, I
Yeah.
bet you already know this. This is going to be a piece of cake today.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. And the next thing is we're going to look at this I have who has game. Now we obviously can't play it because we're not with you, but we're going to just read a few and we're going to give you a few seconds to guess each one. So I'll start. It says I have the first card, and I have the genre that describes a fiction book where characters could be real and events really could happen. What do you think that is, Miss Landers?
That is realistic fiction.
Realistic fiction. That's right. That's right. So ignore this top line because this is if we were actually playing the game. All right, it says who has the genre that describes a story with characters and events that are greatly exaggerated and often has a hero who accomplishes them.
That would be a tall tale.
Yes, good. It's a tall tale. Very good. Very good. And how you can remember tall tale is it says greatly exaggerated. So think about like Paul Bunyan. Um,
Yeah. Trying to
I'm
think what Paul
trying,
Bunyan.
and he
Now
had
all
that
of a
big
sudden,
ox, that ox named
yeah,
Blue,
yeah,
and they were
yeah,
huge.
right.
Okay. All right.
Also, what would be fun is if you wanted to, and you had your phone, you and somebody else could get on and play together. You could, you know what I mean? Like you could ask the person on the phone the question, and that the other one can do the answer. That would be something fun to do.
That would be
Just,
fun. Okay, it says who has traditional or traditional genre that describes a very old story that's been passed down over generation for many years.
that would be a folk tale.
Folktale. Good job.
Yes,
Wow. Very.
we talked about these right before spring break, so they
Yes.
should remember these.
Yeah, these are good. Okay, so who has a story that is acted out with actors and actresses? It contains a script, scenes, and characters.
That's a
Mm,
play.
that's a play. I wish we could do a play. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, would.
Okay, so who has a very old story that often tells how something in the world came to be and often includes characters like gods and goddesses?
A myth, a Greek
Um,
myth, the Greek mythology is one. Yeah,
yes, good. Do you like to read Greek mythology, Miss Landers?
I do. My favorite, and the boys and girls know this because we talked about this. Pandora's Box is my favorite.
Awesome. Okay, great. All right, so this is going to be on the site. So if you want to quiz your parents or if you want to play with your friends, like Mrs. Landers said, use this and just practice. And that's just for fun. So the only assignment that we have for you today is your journal, and I'm going to let Mrs. Landers talk to you about what is expected from your journal today.
Okay, so on your journal, make sure you are putting the date so we can keep up with when it was. You're going to write 2 paragraphs about your favorite book that you have read, and the genre. Think about the genre you like and whatever is the favorite book also. And you are going to answer the following questions. We want to know the title. Please include that in your writing. We want to know who the author is. So include that. Tell me what the genre is, the genre is, and why you like it so much. And I would include that in the first paragraph. I would answer those questions. And in the second paragraph, I would put a short summary of that book so we would know something about that book. Okay. Not just why you liked it, but tell me a little summary of the book. So I will know in case I haven't read it. That might be like a book review that I want to read, like on Goodreads. And I'll say, ooh, yes, I'm going to read that next. So,
Okay, very good, very good.
mhm.
All right, so let me stop sharing. Very good, very good. This was a great lesson over genre. I hope that you enjoyed it. And we're not giving you any additional assignments today other than just writing in your journal. So enjoy your free time.
I want you to go outside and enjoy some outside time today.
That's right. That's right. And don't forget that you have access to AR. You can find that on the newsletter and just click that button and you can read and take your AR test. And also you're going to find the button for Epic Reads on there too. So if you're looking for a good book to read, you can find books on Epic or you can find books at your house and take AR tests using the link that's on the newsletter. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.